Standing by for us in Parliament. Very scary statistics, to quote Becky Cele himself, Abra. What are the politicians saying about the numbers?
Good afternoon. Yes, you are correct. The first person to have bemoaned these stats was the minister himself. He started off by saying it's not going to be a good presentation, but somebody has to do it. So we've heard from the minister and his team. I'm now going to cross over to various MPs here in Parliament who do sit on that portfolio committee, who deal with crime on a daily basis in terms of legislation and policy here in Parliament. First up, I have the chairperson of the police committee, Abra Barbier. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Your opening remarks, you spoke about the 6.9% increase in murder. You are not a happy chairperson today.
Yes, we are very much shocked and appalled at the 6.1% increase in the murder rate. It clearly is an indication that violent crime is a clear and present danger to our communities and society, and we need strategic interventions, not merely operational or tactical changes. We need really everybody on board to ensure that we deal with crime definitely.
Going forward, I mean, we can't really put this blame at the door of the specific minister. He only came in February, and these stats were up to March this year. Based on what you heard today, based on his plans for SAPS, do you think we have something to look forward to going forward?
Yes, I think we welcome the urgency with which the minister deals with SAPS-related matters and also the crime stats. It's really a wake-up call, and we need really proactive plans to deal with the matters at hand proactively. From the portfolio committee side, it's quite clear. We must follow the NDP recommendations, the National Development Plan. We must strengthen and introduce specialised units to deal with taxi and gang violence very effectively. But a major cause of concern is the occurrence of gun-related crime. More than 50% of the murders indicated in the slides today is related to gun crime. So we really need to clamp down on that, but also we must amend the architectural framework. The Firearms Control Act must be looked at and brought to Parliament, that we can deal with the loopholes and ensure that illegal guns is taken from the street.
Voorzitter, dankie vir jou tyd.
Thank you.
Next, we are going to be speaking to the leader of the Freedom Front Plus, Mr. Pieter Groenewald. Hallo meneer, goeiedag.
Goeiedag.
You seemed quite pleased with the category, specifically speaking about murders and attacks and crime at farms and small holdings. Can you speak to us about that?
Well, firstly, it's the first time since 2007 that we receive the statistics when it comes to farm murders from the minister. And if you look at the statistics, of course, there will be differences with the agricultural unions in this sense that the police takes the financial year, that's the start of April, the end of March, whereas the agricultural unions, they use the calendar year for so forth. So there is a difference. But if you look at the statistics of farm murders, yes, the farm murder rate is 62, but if you take it over the last 6 years, there's an increase of about 11% in farm murders. And for the first time, we also had a breakdown of how many of these victims were farm owners, workers, and we welcome that, so that we have a correct perspective when it comes to farm murders, because it is quite a contentious issue in South Africa, so we welcome that. But if you look at the murder rate, for instance, overall in South Africa, we also are very worried about it because there is a 6.9% increase. But if you look at the trio crimes, which is murder, car hijacking, and then robberies at residential premises, and you make an analysis over the past 6 years, then it's really worrying in this sense that murder, for instance, over the past 6 years has increased with almost 31%. If you look at car hijackings, there was an increase over the 6-year period of almost 74%. And when it comes, for instance, to robberies at residential areas, we have an increase of 33%. Now, the most feared crime in South Africa is residential or robberies at residential premises. So we can understand that the people of South Africa say that they feel unsafe and that they are victims of crime.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time, Mr. Groenewald. I think we're now going to have from the ANC, Mr. Jerome Marke. Sir, this is your committee. It's your interest. What are your concerns? Are you optimistic? How do you feel about what you've heard today?
Well, if there's an increase in contact crime, that's what everybody is afraid of. It's a worrying factor. But the main point here is that the numbers of police officers are decreasing, whilst the population is increasing. And what would you expect? I mean, if the United Nations says one police officer for 220 people, and we are at one police officer as 390 something, and the number of police officers is decreasing whilst the population is increasing, let alone that we have got foreign nationals, meaning that it's not even 57, it's over 60 million. That's a worrying factor. That's right.
Thank you for your time, Mr. Marke.
Thank you.
You see, I think let me just see if I can grab one of the other MPs. The IFP, Mr. Singh, is here with us. Mr. Singh, sir, your first impressions of the crime stats today?
Alarming to say the least, not unexpected, because we've been saying for some time as IFP that crime is getting out of control. This was justified today by the Minister of Police himself, who said that we are in a war zone. And I've just come out of a debate in Parliament now where the Minister of Justice said that the crime levels are unacceptable in our country. The question we ask, what is being done about it by government? People in this country not only need to feel safe, but they must be assured that wherever they go, they are safe. That is not happening. We've been running with certain initiatives at the moment where we are calling for a national discourse on the introduction of capital punishment or the death penalty as a possible deterrent to contact crime. And once again, statistics show that with regard to murders of women and children, it's on the increase. 57 people on an average are murdered per day. That's over 20,000 a year. The Vietnam War was 30,000 people in 10 years. Now, something is not right. Is the punishment that is being meted out to criminals who are prosecuted and convicted sufficient to deter them from continuing with this? That is the question South Africans need to engage in. I've been involved in a number of radio shows for the last week or so, and I must say I was surprised, to say the least, that so many callers who phone in from all parts of the country, from the Eastern Cape, from Limpopo and everywhere, are saying we need to do something about it. The death penalty is possibly the right thing to do. Maybe we need a sunset clause, introduce it for 5 years, see what happens, and we take it from there. But we cannot allow things to go the way it is.
Thank you so much for your time. Mr. Ngabayomzi Kwankwa of the UDM. It seems we are not winning the battle against crimes and violence against women and children. That we've seen an increase, a spike in that number. How would your party respond to that stat?
It's very painful for us, especially the matter of women and children, including boys and the girl child. It says to us that this nation needs what Nelson Mandela once called the RDP of the soul. I mean, one cannot take away, especially when you look at these statistics, that we are generally a very violent nation. If you look at the increase in the murder statistics, that about 57 people are killed in South Africa every day, it's shocking. Yes, it means that government needs to improve its crime fighting strategies, but overall I think it's a strategy that needs leadership from all sectors of society. There needs to be proper dialogue about how we address crime in South Africa, and in particular the high murder rate, because it's not just violence that is an issue. I mean, when I looked at the statistics, I said to myself that there are people who go around the world spreading propaganda and lies about the fact that the murderers are only targeting farmers. It's not true if you look at it. It's just a very high murder rate in the country that targets everyone and everything that moves in the country. But I think the other concern for us in general is that if we don't address this problem, we will struggle to attract foreign direct investment, even when your economic indicators are in place, you can improve or try to make sure that there's fiscal rectitude, but without addressing the safety issue, you are not going to get people coming to South Africa because they won't feel safe here. And it's particularly important for us to address the physical safety of people issue as we are dealing with the issue of land expropriation, that compensation, because remember that to some extent makes people to fear for private property rights and all those issues. So it means it needs to be holistic and a comprehensive strategy.
Thank you so much for your time. Let's hear what the NFP has to say. Sir, what is your reaction to the crime rate at the moment and the stats that we've just been presented with by the police minister?
Well, ma'am, it's shocking. It's not something that can be appreciated or celebrated. It means clearly that as the government is not winning the war against crime in this country. And number two, it says all the strategies that the government, law enforcement agencies have to fight crime, they are not working. If they were working, it could not be. We are in this situation. It means that our laws are not biting enough to deter the criminals. Look at the war against the women and children. We are obviously clearly losing that war. Once we lose that particular war, it means to us the nation has no future. Our women, our children, those are the flowers of the nation. Now it means to us, all of us as parliament, government, we need to sit down and say, what are the new strategies that we must use? Because the ones that we have are not working. Our prisoners are full, our prisons are full, but yet we still have these kind of statistics that clearly shows that our society is not safe. Our society is in danger day by day. There's a new strategies that we must develop as parliament and government.
Thank you so much for your time, sir. Nompu, there you have it. MPs across the board, including ANC MPs, saying that they are extremely concerned about what's been presented to them today. I did ask the minister if he believes South Africa finds itself in a state of lawlessness. He seems optimistic. He says, no, we are not in a state of lawlessness, and he's going to make sure we don't get to that point. But a lot of hurdles need to be overcome. A lot still needs to be done. So we will have to give the minister some time and see how it plays out going forward.
Thanks very much.
Back to you in the studio.
Thanks very much, Abra, for that report. More